Hello everyone and welcome back to Nayri Unveiled. We are doing something super unique for this podcast. We're obviously on video and I am at Eddie Zaratsian's beautiful design studio. I am so excited to sit down and even just spend time. There are questions I'm asking that I don't even know the answers to, and I can't wait to hear what Eddie has to say. Hi Eddie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I adore and love you so much. And all the things that you're doing. I mean, I'm not saying this as not only a friend, but I mean, to see the things that you have to do as a businesswoman, I thank you for sharing your time with me today.
Oh,
and
likewise.
I know I'm going to learn a lot from you today, as much as I'm going to teach or kind of enlightened about how I got started and all that good stuff. So I'm ready to hear.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled, and thank you for the kind words. And I've known Eddie for over 10 years. You've watched me grow up.
I have, to an amazing young woman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really excited that we get to spend time together. So where I wanted to start, and I really don't know the answer to this question,
okay,
so I'm dying to ask it. Tell us all how you got started. What inspired you to be working and to be an artist in florals? Because you originally started, and correct me if I'm wrong, doing weddings. Am I wrong?
Okay. No. You're completely right. Yeah.
So you started in weddings. What inspired that? How did you know that this was your calling and that this is what you've wanted to do? And then also, I have a follow-up question to that. I know that you've worked with a lot of corporate events. You recently just opened the Hermes store in Waikiki. I want to hear about how you started, where you began, weddings, and then where that evolved to now that you're doing corporate stuff. I'm going to add in one more thing. You also do our windows at Lavella Bridal. So he even does our design. I mean, there's just so many different facets and elements of things that you do. So tell us, I'm so excited.
So as a creative person, I think I'm not the best drawer, or I don't do the best sketches, but I think when I was in high school, I did a lot of doodling on pieces of paper, not thinking that I'm artistic, but I've always been fascinated with creating things. Mm-hmm. And me as a young kid watching movies and watching TV shows and understanding like these are facades that are built in order to tell a story,
yes,
was what fascinated me, to be honest with you. Is I wanted to be that person that created that scenery. And of course, being young, I didn't think that I would even be able to go into the movie or television industry. So for me, it was kind of, I think you need to go into kind of doing events and seeing the reaction. So the outcome, like the dream that I dream for the clients, and then they actually see, and of course they know what they're getting, kind of, sort of. They get a taste, because I don't do the whole big picture,
right?
Because I want that sense of surprise and that aha moment, the gasp that I look for. And when they walk in the room, right, and they trust what you're going to accomplish, or you're going to dream bigger than they're dreaming for themselves, and then you see that moment, that reality that you created something awesome, and that's a piece of their memory that is never ever going to go.
Right.
It's always like, I'm always going to be in their lives. So that aspect of having people like be in happiness. Of course, right after high school, I went to study chemistry.
Oh, jeez. So wait, how did that happen?
So of course, being in a very traditional, Armenian family, you have to be an attorney or a doctor or, somewhere of more of a stature thing, and of complete opposite of what an artist is, right? Like, yes, a free person. And I think I was doing the right thing, to keep the family happy. And because I'm such a creator, chemistry is very kind of in line with each other, right? If you don't think, yes, about it, because it's complete opposite. It's about mathematics and formulas, but design is about that too.
Absolutely.
Right?
I've never put that in like that two side by side, but you're right.
Yeah. So I never thought of it that way. And
right,
until one day someone said, you doing exactly what chemistry is.
Yeah.
It's based on a formula, and whatever that formula is, it's in my mind, right? Mm. So that didn't go so well, because I had chemicals and materials like explode on me. And I was like, hell, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to lose my eyes, or I don't want to lose my hands or my feet or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I said, this is not for me. And
mm-hmm,
I indulged on a family business that my dad and his partner created. And, obviously the partner got paid off after 2 years because the business wasn't, as solid to keep two families living. And it was back in the late 80s. So all this transformation happened. I mean, my parents and I, with the help of my parents, I should say, started my floral company. And that floral company then, it wasn't floral actually. It ended up, we started in the balloon business.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, but
I
hold
didn't
on.
know that.
So I should back up a little because I'm going way too forward because this is 30 years of a story, right? So it's hard to say it in like two sentences or 3 minutes. So it started with the balloon business. I think my first account that I got was Disney.
Wow.
So we did a lot of their employee appreciation kind of parties. So they had like Easter fling and then the Christmas party where the family and friends of Disney would come through and we would decorate, and that was in the balloon business. And then it kind of went into the gift basket, like the gifting business where it was gift baskets. And then I had like Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola doing these huge like gifting things, and then it was kind of like, hey Eddie, you know how to do all of this, I think you need to get into florals, right? That was like kind of a natural transition.
Yes.
And I had no background, right? In design, I didn't go to art school. I didn't go to any college creatively that someone taught me like, oh, this color works with this. And I think I was just kind of, it's a God-given talent.
I couldn't agree with that more.
Because I think you can study all the things in life, but still not be able to apply them or have the knowledge to see differently than what the textbook is saying.
It's so true.
So then my mentor, and still is my mentor, Phil Reloda, I took some floral classes with him, and just kind of to see what the mechanics and the fundamentals were. He said one thing that I'll never forget, and I still have this in my mind, is learn all the rules but know how to break them.
Wow.
So that gave you structure, and then like kind of deconstructing everything, right?
I love that.
And that's always instilled in me. And then I decided, hey, like this is great, right? So I get to work with different forms. I'm getting to work with like latex balloons or mylar, and then I'm working with actual product of how to put it together. And then going into the florals, and then eventually going into, event design. And I honestly don't call myself now a florist or a botanical artist or a balloon artist or gift person. I just call myself an artist, a visionary artist. I dream a lot bigger, even for my clients, even my corporate clients, where I've done now, Hermes, we did their party in Waikiki for 600 people, to have the honor to work with such a luxurious brand that I look up to. There's a lot of great
Likewise.
brands,
Love Hermes.
and Chanel and
iconic.
So having to deal with celebrities, and then having to deal with corporate, and then having to deal with social, which is so much personal. You have such a big broad of like people preferences and likes and dislikes that you learn over the years, right? You communicate with the bride differently.
Yes.
You communicate with corporate differently, and you also with creative people you communicate with differently.
Yes.
And the one thing that I've learned all over the years is, because I'm so transparent and so honest and so giving, and it was really hard for me to receive as a giver. It's really hard to receive. Is I've learned over the years is now to accept and absorb all the things that I've been giving to receive back. There's
So
nothing
true.
wrong with that, right?
There
Because we tend to be like, well, I want to give it because you get so much joy out of it.
Yes.
But imagine, and one friend, a really dear friend of mine who the reason I have a lot of really amazing people is they teach me things, right? The friendships that I bond is not just it's not just out of nowhere.
Right.
I really want to make sure that they're getting something from me and I'm getting something from them.
Yeah.
And one thing she taught me, she says, how does it feel when you're giving to someone? How does that make you feel? Amazing, right?
Amazing.
It makes you feel appreciated and respected or loved and so forth. Imagine the person giving it to you, how they feel, right? So you got to learn how to accept that, because that makes them feel good. So when you say no to them, you're rejecting their happiness that they're giving you, providing you.
Okay, time out. Did you know that I needed to hear this right now? Because this is something that I personally struggle with all the time. Excuse me. And I give so much because that gives me joy, but receiving, I've been better at receiving, even if it's just as simple as a compliment, just saying thank you and not trying to provide an excuse or something. Oh yeah, no big deal. I just rolled out, whatever that thing is.
Right. Or the achievements that we've,
correct.
And
Which
we've
we
just
minimize.
Exactly.
And that's just an issue. That's just something that I struggle with personally. And someone recently said to me, she said, "You do so much for me. What can I do for you?" And I said, "Nothing, I'm good." But then after I said that, I thought,
you were shutting her down.
I was, and it wasn't intentional, but it is something, I think, because in our own ways, we're both artists. I'm a different type of artist, but we're both artists, and we both have this vision, which is why we work so well together. Because even when you do the windows, what you told me that you wanted the dresses to be was already what I had in mind.
So it's in sync.
We're in sync, which is also why. But there's an overall vision that we have together, and it's just that I have that vision. I'm that artist. I like to give, but it's very difficult
to receive.
And it's something that I think many entrepreneurs deal with, because as an entrepreneur, you have to be a giver. And if you're not a giver, well, you don't have to be, but I think to be a good one, you have to be a giver in some degree.
Besides being an artist, right? You also are in a service-oriented business where you always have to remain positive, and no one should see the backside of like how you struggle and the hurdles that you have to go through as any type of person, right? Whether you own your business, you don't own your business, and something that we talked about a little bit before, even when we started this interview, and I said we need to stop because we need to continue this, is as good as you are, and all the accolades and all the successes you've done, and I've always had certain things, right? Like I wanted to have my book before the age of 40. Yes, I'm going to tell you how old I am on camera. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud. I don't feel, it's not about age. I feel like there's so much, I have so much vitality. I have so much to give still.
Yes.
That passion that I have. But sometimes because you're such a giver, okay, what happens is that and it's not because you're not receiving from other people or other things. We're so blessed with other things that are given to us, not directly from other people, but we stop and we self-doubt all the achievements that we have. And sometimes because you've achieved so much, there you're like, what's the next step, right?
Yes.
So sometimes you get into this like stagnant or very neutral comfort zone, and you don't want to push. I'm the one who likes to push. But when I'm not happy, or I'm not in that state of confident mind, I self-doubt, and I start destructing instead of creating.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah,
all day
which is then it's like easy, right? It's easy to do that. You sabotage. It's like, well, I didn't deserve that. I didn't get it, but you deserve it, and you have all the power, because we are people that are always going to be in life. People who are going to elevate, be positive, and we're always going to give. And it's okay once in a while that we're in that rut, you know?
Yes.
You need to find an excuse for yourself. It's okay, we're human.
Yes.
But once you come out of that whole, like, I don't know if it's a black hole or whatever you want to call it, that not secure moment, no, there was a purpose why you're here.
Right. I think for me, it's been a moment of unknown. I've done this. So even for my podcast, so if you look at my podcast, you'll see that I started it, and then it was videos, and I stopped. I stopped for about a year because I didn't know what my next step was. I knew that I wanted to continue it, but what was my direction? I needed a minute to step back. So I did. I took a creative year pretty much off in terms of building my videos, my online courses, and everything, to really think, okay, what is it? What is my end goal? What am I trying to achieve here? Because what I wanted to achieve, I achieved quickly, faster than I thought I was going to. And then it came to a stop, and I'm like, okay, it's over. Now what? And it took me about a year to really sit back and say, okay, I have to sit this one out, because I'm not ready to take that next step, because I don't know what that next step is.
I totally agree with you. I think we're in the similar boats, right? I did my YouTube videos. I started about 3 years ago, and it was a conversation on the couch with a bunch of friends, creative friends, and saying, oh, you know, like, oh my God, you're such creative genius. I don't think the world knows this. And of course, you know, I'm not viewing myself as a creative genius because you don't want to, you know, I don't want to be where I still want to be humble because I know I have so much to give. So if I have that look, I have confidence and I got, and of course I own it sometimes when I'm around public because there's a certain persona that they're used to seeing, but they don't get to see the real me, right? Which is the struggling of the artist, the struggling as being a good person, just overall, right? Just a good person in general. And I started the videos and I stopped because I was like, I don't like the way I'm on camera. I don't like who I'm being represented.
Interesting.
Which was kind of more, if you look at the videos, when I did 2 years ago, it was more like, hi, I'm Eddie Zaratsian. You know, and now, and this is a personality people know me, right? They know the fun, quirky, crazy, you know, very optimistic, always helping kind of a personality. And that wasn't coming on camera. And so I was put on this high pedestal, like, this is who I am. And I didn't like that because I heard comments from people that know or didn't know me, or when people knew me a certain way and they're like, oh my God, you're so much nicer than we thought you were. And I was like, what does that mean? Because I've achieved so much that I'm a son of a bitch. Sorry, you can edit this out if you need to.
No, we're keeping it in.
And I don't mean it that way because, you know, when people think you're successful or you've achieved a lot, that you're not still approachable. And one of the things that I learned and of course I'm always going to jump back into this, one of the favorite icons that I've had, that I've always watched as a mentor growing up when I was a little kid, was Oprah.
Love Oprah.
And a lot of people can relate to this and like how optimistic and real she was and encouraging and like making sure people get empowered. She resonated to me a lot too. And one of the biggest things I had is like, I want to work with Oprah Winfrey one day. And it was, again, you really have to believe in yourself to become all that. So this is how like the circle of life and the things that you have to go into. Like I think every decade you have to kind of revamp your name, your brand, who you are, and how you want people to see you.
Correct.
And that year, I think it was 2011. I know it's been years, but 2011. January 1st, 2011, that's the year that I did the launch party of the OWN Network, and I got to work with Oprah Winfrey.
Wow.
And one of the most important things I learned from that is we were in a room with 1,500 people, and of course, because I had a great relationship working on the event, I was put off in a VIP section that she was around, and I got to meet her, and I got to talk to her. And what I loved about her is she wasn't that person only on TV, is she actually took the time to like face to face, look into my eyes, and I was the only one in the room and concentrated on me. Do you know what it made me feel?
Wow.
$1 million or more. Because
that's incredible.
Because then I got to see the person behind the camera. And this is what I want people to see, us entrepreneurs. When they see this really like successful person, they think that they're not approachable or they're not willing to share. And for me, sharing and growing, like how you're doing your podcasts and your videos, and people say, why do you do all of this? Because there's no monetary you know, and these videos cost me a lot of money and like in editing and time and creating and product. But I think when I put out in the universe, wherever it is, and if I'm inspiring someone to listen to my story and to say, if he can do it, I can do it as well. I think I've kind of accomplished a lot of things, right?
Yes.
Not only to inspire other people in the business, but other people that are not confident in who they are.
Very true. Very true. And it was similar for me because when I was publishing my book, we both have books, I almost didn't publish it. And that was the self-sabotage setting in and the doubt. And part of the reason why I almost didn't publish it was because originally my book cover was only supposed to be me from the lips down, and no one was supposed to know that it was me. But unfortunately, the photos that we took, it didn't look good from the lips down. So we had to use my entire face. So I thought, what are people gonna think that I'm on my own book cover? You know, my picture is there. They're gonna think that I wanna be the center of attention. This was the self-sabotage coming in because I had accomplished it. It was done. I had taken the photos, hair and makeup was done. I styled it. and everything. And I didn't want to publish it. And my business mentors and my family was like, why would you not publish content that you created because there's a need for it? Brides are confused. They don't understand the process. You created this. You have to move forward with it. Then I said, okay, fine. I published the book. Then what? Like, I don't have my own brand. I don't have, what is my end goal? Because that's how I think is, what am I trying to achieve? I'm putting something out there, but what's my end game? And at this point, it was just a book. So I thought, screw it, I'm not going to do it. And then from there, I did a mastermind day and I did some brainstorming and I created this huge web. So I created Wedding Fashion Expert, and I have the original. I took a photo of this piece of paper. I'll have to share it with you.
I would love to see it.
All the different things. So I had said that I want a podcast. I want a YouTube channel. I want to be doing interviewing designers on the runway, which I did this year. And just, it had all, I want online courses. I want like a wedding fashion expert certification for
That's
stores.
a lot to undertake.
Right? All in one umbrella. And I did this because I thought, okay, if I'm putting this content out there, I'm telling brides, this is the experience you're supposed to have. What if other stores aren't providing that experience across the globe? Then I'm putting out expectations that aren't going to be met, and then I'm going to have unhappy brides. So this is how our brains operate, right? It's like a domino effect. I put one thing out there, X, Y, and Z can happen. How do I create that? So essentially the point that I'm getting at is that self-sabotage is there and people's voices are there. I've heard so many things about my book, mostly positive, but of course you have the haters. There's always going to be the haters. That's just a given. And you have to be okay with that.
And I totally agree with you. And when I started the second season of the YouTube videos, I was getting certain like negative comments, like you're not saying this right, or you're not pronouncing this right, or you're not saying, like you keep saying I like so and stuff like that. And then I was like, and I was taking that, right? And I was taking that in. I was like, wow, maybe I'm not as polished as I think I am on camera, or maybe I should do it like A, B, C, and D, or the way that it's supposed to be done, which is the cookie cutter way of doing it. And then I thought to myself, this is exactly what I don't want to do first season, right? To be that polished guy. I just want to be, I can make mistakes, we're human. Yeah. If I don't know the name of the flower or the material that I'm using, it's okay. What the videos were really doing was to inspire them, right? So then I didn't care, because that reaction, a lot of people were saying a lot of hate things, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, if you can actually take the time and put out the energy to put that content up, and then you're trying to say that I'm not doing a good job, you try to do it yourself. Yep. If you're going to judge, if you're going to ever compete, or you're going to say anything, I always feel like if you can do it, like a competitor of mine sat down one day, it was a mutual friend of ours, sat us down for dinner, and I'm not going to say who it is because it's not even relevant. Sat down right next to me, and I don't personally hate this person, but I think this person wants to be me. And it's okay to aspire, but don't knock me down when I've opened so many doors for a lot of people in the industry, right? I pushed so many boundaries and showed what people's capabilities are. And then you sit down and you're like, I want to have my own book. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And I said, if you need my help, I'll direct you. Now, wonderful. And saying this as a competitor, like, has anyone done any that kind of advice from me? Yes, I've had great mentors, but I've also had a lot of backstabbing, scenarios where I'm like, okay, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm just creating beauty. That's all I'm doing. So if you can do it yourself and you can be better at it, do it. Game on. Let's compete. But don't wash out or demise what I've created, because I've opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people. And I'm not saying it to pat myself on the back. Is respect.
Totally.
That's it.
And it's no different even when I look at Lavella and other stores reach out to me and say, how can we strive to be you? And I want them. I want people to be us. I do, because if they're succeeding, that means we all get to make other people's lives better, because we as individuals can't do everybody. No. It's not possible. So there needs to be more of us. And of course, everybody's going to vary and have their own talent and their own spin to things. But I encourage it, because if we don't encourage this type of domino effect, what happens when you and I are done? I don't know when we're ever going to be done.
I'm not going to be done.
I know I'm going to be like 80 and still at it.
I told myself, I had a conversation with God, and God told me, you're going to be up and running with your mindset in your own
Love
feet
it.
until 90 years old. After 90, he goes, I can't guarantee anything. So 90 is my number that I've always had. It's so funny that I say that because people go, really, you don't want to live longer. I think 90 is a good amount, right?
I'm
I think,
okay with 90.
Yeah, I'm a little halfway there. And if 45 years or whatever of my life, the first half of my life was to understand and come to a full circle of who I am.
Yes.
Because it gets to, you're in your 20s, you're a different mindset. In your 30s, in your mindset. And then your 40s, you're not there yet. You have a long way to go. But when you get there, you'll start realizing it's not about others. It's about you and how good you are to yourself. Because the biggest revelation is loving yourself, right? Knowing who you are and how your presence does so much for others.
Yes.
Really does,
Yes.
right? You educate me. The way you talk to me about how certain things you deal with in life and work, like I learn from you, right? You're much younger than me, but because you're so brilliant, and I'm not saying this on camera, guys, it's the truth, right? Like I want to be around you because I learn from you as much as I like sparking things in your mind, because I see that, right?
Yes.
When I talk to you, that I'm like, oh, that means she thinks I'm a bright, smart person, so she's connecting with me.
And I'm like, my brain
But
waves are going. Yeah.
I see that, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how young or old I am. I think
irrelevant.
I learn from young and I learn from old, and
Correct.
I have a wonderful over 70-year-old girlfriend of mine who is out of Belgium. She's Australian, and I find her my muse, right? She knows everything about food and fashion and flowers and what's going on, and she's the one who's like, you think Europe is a good inspiration? I'm going to send you to another location in South America. You're just going to be blown away. Yeah. I mean, to have people like that in your life that are always injecting, right, information and having you kind of like, hey, look at this direction a little bit. You're kind of now too far. That's another thing you need to explore. That's amazing friends, right?
Truly. It is. And it really comes down to who your support system is, because even when I was in that one state of example of self-sabotage where I wasn't going to, it was all the people around me that encouraged me. And had I not surrounded myself with these people strategically, luckily we're very lucky that our families are supportive. So that's a given. But also our non-family members that we've adopted as family, who are just our mentors, our friends, just whoever it is, because if I will not put myself around a group of people that are not going to encourage me. I had one really close girlfriend, and she made fun of a video that I made on Lavella's Instagram, and it was before I started doing all the camera work. We're no longer friends. You make fun of me, you put me down in a certain way. It's not that, and it's not that there was anything that happened. It was very amicable, but it's just that if you're not going to be supportive and give me constructive feedback, hey, Nayri, you could have done it like X, Y, and Z. I would have so much rather preferred that than you making fun of me, belittling me.
Correct.
Because that doesn't work for me. But that was something that I have to say. If you're someone out there, and if you're a wedding pro watching this, or even if you're just an entrepreneur or work for someone, it doesn't matter. Whenever you have any type of self-doubt and there's someone that's feeding into that, you need to remove yourself from that person, because they are not going to best serve you for you to serve yourself. It's toxic. It truly is.
It's toxic. And years ago, one of my really great team members, when she first started young, okay, obviously before Instagram, this is years ago, before Instagram became really popular and all social media, and she said something to me, and we were in the office together, and I actually asked her when the crew was supposed to always come in at 8:30, but I would always ask her to come in at 8 o'clock. So I had a half an hour every day with her, just to kind of have her I wanted to really have her understand what my mindset is, like how I function. So when you have someone, a team member, you really have to invest in them in the beginning so that they can understand who you are and how you want to proceed. The first thing that she said to me, she said, she was looking at competitor stuff, and she's like, oh my God, look, Eddie, excuse me. She's like, look, they're copying you and all that stuff. And I said, we don't look anything in the past, we look everything in the future.
I love that.
Okay? Because I said, if we indulge on the negative and the things that are happening in the past, it doesn't allow me to look into the future to create different things, right? Yep. You get your mindset into like, oh my God, they're doing this, they're copying me. What else? Who cares they're copying you? everybody's going to know who the original one was, right?
And everybody has sources of inspiration.
Right.
Right? And so you inspired it, and whatever they reproduce, it is what it is. Like, even in fashion and designers, we see it all day long.
Of course.
All day long.
But there's, like for instance, for me, I think a designer can have their own, they can be inspired. Everybody's inspired by everybody,
Yes.
whether it's in fashion or TV or whatever. But I think the most important thing is having your own identity at the end of the day, right? Don't feel like you don't have enough knowledge or power or whatever. You do it yourself. You will find your own clients instead of copying someone else. It's good because you don't have to think, right? But as a true entrepreneur, you're always going to strive to get inspired from other people, but then push what you are good with, and you'll attract those people.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I don't want to. I love doing weddings because I like the human, social, the passionate, and the way I deal with social events is quite different than when I deal with corporate because it's very non-emotional.
Yes.
Right? Whereas social is you've got the bride, and then you've got the groom, and then you've got the parents, and there's a lot of like exchanges. Some, you know, they're extreme. Sometimes you love someone, then you gotta hate them at that moment because there's a lot of stress. With corporate, it's the complete opposite, right? It's non-emotional for me. It's more creative because I get to push boundaries, because sometimes weddings get into a cookie cutter form, right? We look at all this social media, so we're in a safe zone. So we think that, oh, so-and-so did it, so that means we can do it. That's the complete opposite of who I am, right? I want to push my clients to doing differently, or allow me to do something different that they would be surprised with. But I can only do that, and that's how you do it, and this is how you are able to pick dresses, is you look at the person's personality.
Yes. Very true.
And one of the things I ask during a meeting, especially in a wedding, like when I'm doing a wedding consultation, is, can you show me what the dress looks like? And people go, why do you need to know the dress? We haven't even picked it out. We're talking to you about a wedding that we want to do next year, and we don't even have a dress. I'm like, but that's the sense of who you are.
And it sets
shows.
a tone.
For
Whether
me.
yes, for a lot of things though, like the dress, because that's your personality. So if you're choosing to wear something, when you zip that dress up, that sets your tone, your energy, your feeling, what you're going to exude on that day. It's no different than for a woman to wear flat shoes and then heels. No doubt about it. When you're in heels, you walk a certain way, you stand a certain way. There's this demeanor that comes out. So the dress, I tell brides this all the time, the dress sets the tone. And to your point, it's going to exude, and that dress may inspire you,
of course,
to create something out of the box. But one thing I find with humans in general want to go with what they're comfortable with.
I agree.
Right? So if you...
but it happens with us too.
It does,
right,
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature to go with comfort. Uncomfortable, we all of a sudden set ourselves back into comfort. So to be able to have a couple that's like, yes, Eddie, create something I've never seen before, it can be scary for a couple.
I agree.
It can
I
be,
agree.
but then at the same time, for the right couple, it could be so exciting and exhilarating. Like, I would want to be the person that's like, create whatever the hell you want. I want to walk in and be surprised.
Well, we recently had a bride. Well, you're my ideal person, right? because then it allows me to create. One of the things is recently we had a really beautiful bride come in, and of course the family was here during the meeting, and of course the first minute we started, it was like, oh, whites, green, whites or blushes and golds and very traditional. That what everybody's, and she's not that person, right? I like that. I saw that spark, like that girl that wants something bold and different. So I during my meetings I'm passive aggressive. And meaning when I say passive aggressive is I'm very passive because I like to listen first. And then when I get aggressive, and not aggressive in a very rude way, I just I get aggressive in my opinions of how I see the direction of where I see them landing, right? I already have a vision of what their wedding's going to look like. And slowly I kind of start getting people's reaction to saying, like, what if we thought of doing this? Like recently it was like, I was like, guys, it's kind of like we're going into fall. Why don't we do some bold colors? Why don't we use black and plum and like vibrant, And it was like, are you sure that's going to be okay? I'm like, are you okay to like push the envelope a little bit?
Yeah.
Are you ready to like have heads turn a little bit? Like if you're that kind of a person and you want to make a statement, you have to be so comfortable in your skin. So no matter what anybody says, whether it's your dress, the invitations you picked, the venue you chose, the music, whatever it is, you should have so much confidence. So if someone says something in your ear, it's like, why did you do those colors? Or why did you wear those dress? That you're not taken back and offended, right? You have to have that self-confidence. So whatever happens around you, you kind of put your middle finger and you go, it's mine, I love it, who cares?
Who cares? Yep.
And once you have that, then you're okay.
And that's with everything in life, in business, in personal, like all of it.
Yeah, and how I conduct business is not maybe necessarily the way you conduct business, but I get to the same result. People say, oh, we're going to sit there and we're going to get a proposal from you. I don't do proposals. God, if I'm at 30 years in my business and I have to sit down and you're going to shop that proposal around because it's a numbers game, why don't we have a transparent conversation where you need to be at? I'll probably help you much better that way, right?
Right. That's good to know.
Because if your people are shopping for a dress as well, maybe in their head they're thinking 15,000, but you're showing them something more or less.
Right.
You don't know where they're coming.
No.
So it's important to have that.
We have to have that candid conversation because in order for us to best serve any client, we have to know what we're working with. And sometimes people are, and clients are scared to give numbers because they think that we're going to limit options. But that gives us parameters in which we can work or think out of the box. And so we need some guidance because it's impossible to do this with no guidance.
Well, and part of what we do is education too, right? Yes. Besides being a salesperson, a designer, you become their psychologist, psychiatrist, and all that stuff. But understanding that if you tell me the truth, I'm better able to help you. But if you have no idea, we can start somewhere. It's okay.
Sure.
But you can't just go in blindly because things cost money. Yes. At the end of the day, yes, you can be on a budget wedding, but your wedding will look like a budget wedding at the end of the day. And I always feel like cheap is more expensive. Yeah. I know it's a hard thing to accomplish, but like think of a dress or something that you buy, a shoe that you don't pay a brand that's luxurious, right? A luxurious brand has a good quality product.
Yes.
So let's go back to that. So if you think that you're going to buy a shoe that's going to look like it and you're going to be able to have a longevity of that shoe, it's incorrect.
Right.
You're going to, in that period of time that you're going to buy not one shoe, you're going to end up 4 shoes, which will cost you more money
than the one had you gone with quality.
Correct.
Yep.
So the same thing applies to everything that we do.
Yes.
I'm like, look, you've already jumped. Do it.
Yeah.
Or cut something that's not as important to you.
Exactly.
For me, the dress is important because it's in every picture.
I mean,
the
obviously,
bouquet,
I think so too.
Well, yeah. And I also think the decor or the environment that you create to have that bright and that armor is very important, right?
That sets the mood.
Correct.
For the entire environment and the flow. I mean, even from the music. At the end of the day, honestly, every detail matters. It's a matter of what you value as the couple or even as the corporate business, because you do our window design and you'll tell me, hey, Nayri, listen, I can do this for X amount of dollars, or I can do this if you let me, I can be more creative. And we'll sit there and we'll go, okay, what's going to bring in? And I have to tell you, like every time we do our windows, we get so many DMs. We post it on Instagram. People reach out to us. It stops traffic. People stop at that red light. So any of the bridal stores that are listening, these are components that you have to invest in, because if you don't, that's your storefront.
It's your image.
It is. And it's difficult. Our windows are difficult. They're not the easiest windows.
Because they're narrow and long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we make it work.
You make it work. And I have to say, like, to Eddie's team, thank you, because everyone is so nice. They are so thoughtful. They clean up after themselves. And I'm so OCD. Eddie was like watching me. She's like, he goes, they're going to clean up. I said, I know, but I want to like clean as we go.
I'm the same way. And I have to learn how to let go sometimes.
Yes.
Because part of our personality, and I see this, right, with all type A personalities, it's like before you want to have other people do it, you do it yourself because you do it better than anybody else. But I think over time you have to learn to trust the team.
I just love them. I want to help them.
I know, but loving them and helping, and it was like one of those things that, I after work I came and I wanted to make sure it was like exactly how I envisioned it. And you and I sitting there and talking together about the windows, even though I was the artist, you let me create, I was not offended by when we were talking, right? As a true artist, you should never be you should, as good as I am, and I know it, but you're the client, right? When I say you're the client, I want to make you happy.
Yes.
So talking to you about the design process of what you were thinking and what I was thinking and how we were going to make that happen, look at how much more magic it is.
It really was.
If I had gone into one way and I said, no, this is the way we're going to do it, and then you said, no, this is the way I'm going to do it, and we just did it the way without sharing and understanding each other, I don't think we would have come to a good resolution or a great display that, and one of the things that I'm so proud when I get to drive through and I get to see it in the evening or in the afternoon and people actually, sending me messages, hey, that's so amazing, I saw the Instagram or whatever, that makes me feel good, right? That means I did something as an artist correctly, so I got attention. And the attention is not for me. The intention is for you.
Yes.
I want that attention. I want that, you guys are investing in your business to show what you guys do, right? And every brand that you look at, every successful brand has such a very clear intention of where they want to go.
Yes.
The way they brand, the way they service their clients, the way they sell the product, right? It's so important to have this whole image. And once in a while, we get rusty on one part, and we have a friend of ours in the industry and going, you're not doing this right.
Yes.
Or not in a bad way, where what if you did this, because we view you this way, and if you did this, you would be at a better successful rate.
Absolutely.
And I know, and this is probably the same thing with you, is as many advice as you get from everyone who's probably maybe more intelligent than you or whatever, deep down inside, I'm one of those type of people. I'll listen to everybody, but at the end of the day, I know inside of me, intuition, I know what's going to work best for me because I know the situation I'm in.
Yes.
Not only that they've given me great advice, and I've had some amazing friends, from all over the world, right?
Yes.
And to see that kind of love, and it as a matter of fact, yesterday I got so many messages that I didn't have enough time to respond, but people in the industry, whether they were friends or not friends, sending me messages saying, we're so blessed to have you, you inspire us, and all that kind of stuff that puts me in the position where it's now receiving, and it's okay for me to receive, and I get emotional, because I'm like, okay, that means I'm doing something right. But it makes me feel good, and that means I'm on the right track. And and you don't know this, but as you're doing your online courses, I have an online course coming up too.
You do?
I do. It's launching next year in January.
Oh my God.
And it's going to be how to get into the business, right? Like the nuts and bolts of how
to what? So who would be your audience? So
my audience is either people aspiring to be in the business, people in the business that need a little bit of hey, I didn't think about that. So it'll talk about the business side of it. It'll talk about the design process of it, and then the actual production, how some of these events that are produced. So it's really about educating, again, to giving back, and they're not online courses. I would say they're modules.
Yes.
So they're there'll be a whole package of them that you can purchase, or you can purchase in portions, or even dissected to one module that you want to learn from, like color theory.
Love that.
How
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I think and then I have something else coming up, but I can't talk about it because if I talk, someone told me you talk too much about things that aren't already
done yet.
that aren't done that you're totally excited about. So I have to slow down, but it's something even more brilliant than this, which is going to be so accessible to everybody. So it's people who are, hobbyists, people that are in the business, aspiring to be in the business, to learn about the business. Sometimes planners don't know the language that they need to speak to event designers. So that's another thing. And then also business side of it. People don't know what it takes for marketing and what it takes for advertising and the amount of attention you have to put in that aspect of the business as well, not only the creative, right? So as an entrepreneur, I see you doing all of that.
Yes.
And when you said you do a podcast, I'm like, how am I not doing a podcast? And I'm thinking in my mind, when am I going to find time to do that? One more thing on my roster of things to do, right? Yeah. But as a business person, you're also like an entrepreneur. You're pushing me. It's like, well, she's doing it. Maybe there's a need for me to do it.
Yes.
But then I have to assess the market. And I don't want to oversaturate the market with another when I look at some of the stuff in the podcast and stuff, and I want to give a lot of people credit for even doing it, right? But some of them is so misleading.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
And the direction is really to educate.
It is.
Inform and educate and inspire. So one of the biggest things is going to be, one thing I'm going to tell everyone is like, really believe in yourself.
Yes.
When you believe in yourself, you can become anything you want to do.
This is so true.
Anything.
Yes.
So if you want to be a model next week, you know, you can make that happen, right?
If I wanted to, yes. Because I believe in myself. And I think that is probably both of our strengths, is even when we have a moment of self-doubt or we're on the verge of self-sabotage, and we have sabotaged ourselves before, which is why we can now sense when that's going to happen. We're hyper aware of it, but that's some personal work, diving deep into yourself to find out. And I feel very blessed that I have had such amazing mentors who have taught me that at such a young age, that I can actually be sitting here with you today, because I wouldn't be here had I not written the book, had I not been pushed, had I not been thinking, okay, what could I do next? And then you're doing our windows, and the window design is what led us into this conversation. Like, hey, Eddie, let's do more together, because we work so well together. We vibe beautifully. We see eye to eye. We both love to educate and love to give back. We need to become better at receiving. I'm going to speak for myself on that.
I'm learning how to better receive as well.
So we can hold each other accountable.
Yeah. And if I don't receive, you're going to like give me a little slap on my face and go, you really need to learn how to receive, because people love that when they're able to give you that love, right? Yes. It's really important. I think
I need to allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, learn.
I'm going to
learn. It's a process.
It is, and everything. And my mom always says, "The day I stop learning, I'm dead."
I say the same thing. I say, or the other thing I do is like when people say you don't get enough sleep. I said, when I'm dead, I'll be sleeping in the coffin, right?
Exactly.
When I need to do certain stuff, I need to do so. If it takes me till 2:00 in the morning that I have to be in the office because that's the things that I need to do in order to succeed. People don't see that side of it, right? They see the glow. The good thing that people want to see is the fun and creative on social media. They want to see all that, but they don't forget. Like, I was in Italy for a photo shoot in the middle of a mud. The car is stuck, but no one sees that on Instagram, right? They see the end result. And I was like, we need to put this raw stuff. The raw stuff is the real stuff.
It is. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why we're not editing out any portion of this, because it's going to be raw. What you see is what you get. And I wish the unfortunate thing is when we're not when we're in those moments of the car being stuck, we don't have anyone to take the footage. It's like we're too perfect.
We're too into our own mindset. But to put all this out, I know, even though sometimes it's all not monetary, but I think that the most important thing I get back is the feedback of people like, you're doing such a great job, and the encouragement, you're so amazing. Not by some people that I don't even know, right? And to keep on being that soldier, that conductor, the composer, the leader is a very hard thing, because you're shocked all the time.
Yeah.
So always know that I know, and I'm always going to respect you, whether it's even 20 more years from now, whether you're in this business or you're not in this business, because we all take different turns. And, I'm at a cross point right now, is like, what do I want to do in the next 10 years? And I pretty much have to figure it out in a couple of months, right? Where the shifts are going to be.
Yes.
But it's going to be an interesting journey. As much as I'm afraid of what's, of the unknown, I know the possibilities of the outcome that's going to come is going to be even more amazing, because I'm the one who doesn't rest.
Yep.
Right?
It's so true. It's so true. And I mean, it's just interesting, because you and I, we do so much, right? We have so just to recap, and I'm going to link all the places that you can find Eddie, his YouTube, his website, social. You're going to have all of that. It'll be in the links below, and you can click and check out. But the fact that he does weddings, corporate events, you even do our store windows, you have your book, you do your YouTube channel, you're now going to have online courses, you're a speaker, you're an educator. There's we literally coincide on so many things.
Exactly.
We really do. And that's why we get along so well. But it's hard when you're doing so much, and all of that is, what direction are you going to go next? And sometimes you can't do all of them at the same time. You have to put your energy into one thing or another. And you have to be able to also say, what's the best thing that serves me? Because we were both talking before camera is that we both suffer from migraines, which comes from being overworked and not drinking water. But you also have to understand that what we do is a labor of love. If we didn't love it, we would not do this to ourselves.
Oh, no.
It'd be torture. And that's why everybody was like, oh my gosh, but the store's closed today. You're going to film? And I said, yeah. And they said, but it's your day off. Like, take the day off. But this is fun for me. This doesn't feel like work.
I don't think this is work.
This
right?
doesn't count as work for me.
What did I say? You're leaving. I'm leaving. We're both going on a conference.
Yes.
And even though we're both going to be at a conference, I'm teaching. I don't know if you're teaching or but you're going to absorb. I'm going
to learn,
which
and
is
I'm really
great,
grateful
right?
for
because
that.
You're going to absorb a lot, and then you're going to get
you're
going to see a lot of people that are going to inspire you, and you're going to make new friends.
Yes.
Where was I getting at this? Oh my God, I just lost the train of thought. I didn't remember what I was saying. We were talking when I was doing the window display, and we were like, okay, when are we going to do the show? I wanted you to be on one of the YouTube videos. Yes. And then you're like, but no, we have a podcast. We should do a podcast together. And we're like, when do we have time? When we come back? And then I was like, no, when we come back, it's going to be the holidays. Let's not do this.
We can't do that, yeah.
And then I was like, let's do it on Friday. And you're like, Friday? I'm like, you're not working. I'm not working. Well, I'm working technically, right? 24 hours.
Yes.
Because I had a meeting. I had a meeting before you came in here. But anyways, I never stop.
Me neither.
I have fun.
This
is great. This is great. And then just to be able to like that one, getting a comment from someone saying, oh my God, you both were so hilarious and so inspiring at the same time. I think we served our purpose. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I think we can talk for another 20
20
hours, right?
We could never, we could be at this all day. But I just want to say to you, Eddie, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for our partnership and for our beautiful windows and just giving your artistry a little piece of you to Lavella and to me and to everyone listening and watching. And special thank you to Nareg for camera productions, because I usually do my Nayri Unveiled podcast with no video, because so many of my guests are all over the country and the world. And Nareg told me a few weeks ago, he said, actually when we were in New York for the Not Gala, he said, Nayri, if you're doing a podcast with someone who's local, let's get it on camera so that we can also put it on YouTube, and then also that you guys get to watch me. So I'm grateful for Nareg for making that suggestion and making all of this possible today. Thank you to all of you for tuning in, watching, and listening, because without you, none of this would be possible. We are so grateful, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day.